Our fellowship is a light for liberal religion in the mountains that values diversity and the richness it brings to our community. Our celebration of diversity is reflected in the variety of our Sunday services. In addition to different topics, our service sequence and length sometimes vary. Today, we're beginning a new order of service to create space for a story for all ages in coming weeks as we start our new religious education program. Don't worry, all the pieces are still here, they're just in a different order. Our worship team welcomes your feedback on these changes. This morning, we welcome back Adam Bigelow to help us celebrate the 56th Earth Day this Wednesday with a message titled Disturbance and Diversity in the Forest and in Life. We hope today's service enriches your journey of discovery. Our chalice lighting, we have a very special assistant today. Melody, you want to come up and help, please? So you're going to push that button. Can you push it? Wonderful, that's beautiful. Touch it just a little there. Perfect. Thank you so much, Melody. We light this flame as living proof that warmth and light can survive the storm. As we look forward to Earth Day, we remember that we are not separate from the forests that burn and return, the fields that flood and flourish, the landscapes that survive what they could not prevent. We are of this earth, and like this earth, we are resilient. Our opening words. There is a field in ecology called Disturbance Ecology, the study of what happens to living systems after fire, flood, wind throw, and upheaval. What it finds again and again is this: disturbance is not an opposite of life. It is one of life's most faithful teachers. This morning, Adam will share what this has meant up close in a life that has known its share of storms and found in their wake something unexpected. We gather to listen. We gather to recognize ourselves. We gather perhaps to be a little less afraid of our own disruptions. Welcome. Our opening hymn is number 301 in the gray hymnal, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky.
Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shores while spirits fly, over the ocean, over the land, our faith a quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky, children ask the reasons why. In our lives the answers show, and by our love they learn and grow.
Adam Bigelow is a horticulturist botanist who lives in Cullowhee, North Carolina, and has been studying the plants and wildflowers of southern Appalachia for over 20 years. He's an avid organic gardener and founder of the Cullowhee Community Garden. Adam is the owner-operator of Bigelow's Botanical Excursions, an eco-tour business leading guided plant walks in western North Carolina. The link is on our website. Adam is a member of the planning committee of the Cullowhee Native Plant Conference, the largest and one of the oldest native plant conferences in the country, and has attended the conference for many years. Adam lives in Cullowhee at 3,600 feet, surrounded by native plants and wildflowers, with his two cats, Hazel Alder and Silky Willow. Please join me in welcoming back Adam Bigelow.
Yeah. Luckily, I can stand back from the microphone a little bit and it all picks me up. They pick me up in the next county. Thank you for inviting me back to this wonderful gathering and group of friends and relations. And I am so honored to be asked here every year. In fact, I was telling Mary just this morning that I've had some full circle moments of joy and just like life-bringing magical occurrences that have happened in my life because of some years ago coming and giving a presentation here, if anybody was here when I spoke about soil. That there was a young lady in the audience that morning who was a student at Raven High School and was in an English class and had an assignment to interview somebody from the community about old ways in that English class. That English class is what produces Foxfire magazine, which is a precursor to Foxfire books. And so I was interviewed because of the soil talk, and I am now a part of the Foxfire family. Yesterday, I went for the second time to their native plant weekend and led a plant walk, and am continuing to expand the work in connection with Foxfire, one of the most important books and series and collections. And so I'm honored, and I'm curious to see what beautiful developments come about from today's talk, because I'm here to deliver a message of joy and hope. Unfortunately, not for us. The diversity that y'all speak of in your charter, in your message for everybody, is seen in the forest around us here in western North Carolina, in southern Appalachia, where we have upwards of 2,000 species of flowering plants that live and grow. We have all manner of associated wildlife like beautiful butterflies and birds. And this diversity of the forest is one of the things that allows the forest and nature in general to continue and thrive and be beautiful and be resilient. And that diversity comes directly and only because of the horrible and terrible changes that come slow or abrupt in the forest in the form of disturbances. A tree falls. Regardless of whether it made a sound, the answer is yes. But that tree fell and crushed living beings that were below it, individuals with spirits and energies similar to yours. The plants, the animals, the insects that were just unfortunate to be under that tree falling. That single tree in a forest falls and destroys a lot of things. There were things living in the tree that are no longer. There were things on the tree and under the tree that are impacted negatively by that violent action of the tree falling. Not to mention, the tree itself was one of those living spirits and energies. And in the short term, that is horrible for the tree and everything that was around it. But in nature, these disturbances are actually the driving force behind diversity and beauty. Because when that tree was standing, there was a lot of the light being absorbed by that tree. Suddenly it's not there, and light is hitting the forest floor. And as soon as the injury occurs in nature, the healing begins almost immediately. Other plants start to take advantage of that light that's suddenly there where it wasn't. Other organisms come in. The tree itself becomes a home for fungi breaking it down, for other critters coming in and eating that fungi. There is a concept in forest ecology called the nurse log. Y'all have seen it. An old falling tree starting to rot, gets covered in moss. Moss becomes a great place that holds moisture and is refuge for plant seeds and tree seeds that land in it. And suddenly that nurse log becomes a nursery for the plants to grow and use the product of being broken down by the fungi and the newly emitting light coming into the forest. And so this horrible tragedy to the tree and to the plants and animals under the tree becomes this amazing benefit to the next generations and the progenies. That's a small scale. Sometimes disturbance happens on a larger scale. 2 years ago in May, not 600 feet from my house, EF2 tornado came up. Tornadoes are rare in the mountains. It had all the classic tree breaking, the sound of a freight train, and it is carnage up the mountain above my house, and that carnage remains. And that was in May of the same year that Hurricane Helene came and taught us very, very important lessons and broke a certain bubble that many of us shared, that in southern Appalachia we were kind of insulated from large-scale environmental impacts. That bubble has burst now. Prior to Helene, it's not that we didn't have impacts. I remember Peaks Creek, and that storm impacted us all, but the real tragedy and harm and horror was out in Peaks Creek because of that landslide. That storm did not shut down the entire region for weeks or months. Helene was different. And there are bigger storms coming because we're right now at the start of large-scale changes. And so that Helene came through and did huge impacts. And it is hard to see any beauty in that. But we need to be reminded, I need to be reminded, that beauty and diversity is the direct result of the storms and the damage. And I can look at it on a micro level. I tilled my garden. When you till a garden, you're actively killing weeds and microbes in the soil that causes short-term harm, that leads to a nice little release of nutrients and freeing up of sunlight for your vegetable plants. And we take advantage of that. And if you till every year, you are living a disturbance ecological regime of clearing land, growing, clearing land, and growing. That same pattern is being displayed in the forest all the time on small and large scales. I've started applying ideas of disturbance ecology to a couple different time scale references. One, and these are time scale references that disturbance ecology is not usually applied to. And that time scale is my own short, relative, personal life. And then that time scale is evolutionary and geological time, deep time, over millions and billions of years. And so when we look at that same pattern happens when the tree falls and causes harm, then leads to healing and recovery that makes things better than it was before, or keeps the golden goodness happening. So in deep time, and I'm talking ecological and evolutionary timescales, how long has it taken the Appalachian Mountains to go from Himalaya size to 6,600 feet and have all of that extra rock and material that has eroded over time become the floodplain and the wonderful, beautiful soil of the Mississippi River Delta? How long did that take? And how many horrible individual disturbances of landslides, which are in the short term horrible, but you pull back in distance And it is the landslides and the erosions that have made the Appalachian Mountains round and soft and beautiful. So when I look at some of the harms being committed by our modern human culture, and I'm very careful to say it is our human cultural problems of biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, global boiling, which is one of the newest terms used for climate change, which replaced global warming in the way we call it, but the science hasn't changed. It's in fact, maybe happening a little bit quicker than was predicted by scientists 20 and 30 years ago. So we look at all those things happening in this short term, and it is disturbance. And they are major disturbances that are going to impact our lives. And we're just at the start of this. So, but when you pull back in time scale and look at the short relative amount of time humans have been on the planet, you can trace our human evolution as much as 600,000 years, which is a long time. But when you compare it with millions of years of animal life, the hundreds of millions of years of bacterial life, of plant life, and then the billions upon billions. And so I just said a few numbers to y'all, and it's kind of we glaze over. I glaze over when the big numbers come. I'm not going to go into too detail, but I want y'all to know that there's big differences in million, billion, trillion. And in the English language, we just have to change a couple of letters. But if I counted one number per second, to get to 1 million seconds is 11 and a half days. To get to 1 billion seconds is 31.7 years. To get to 1 trillion seconds is 31,700 years. These are big numbers and big differences relative. The difference, I can't say this enough. This actually gets put into so many different talks I do because we don't conceptualize large numbers. The difference between 1 million seconds with an M and 1 trillion seconds with a T is the difference between 11 and a half days and 31,700 years. So our 600,000 years of human evolution compared with 3.7 billion years of bacterial evolution led me to the Church of the Orange Trash Bag. For those of y'all that were here for that, you're welcome. But when I take the horrible things that our modern way of life and our disconnection from nature and our assumption that all of life, everything ever created, was here for us because humans are the end result of evolution, and it was all made for us, that is a harmful and damaging ideology and way of looking at life that leads to not caring how we treat here and how we care for our neighbors, our relatives who happen to not be human. But when I take all those horrors that are coming and happening, can we stop it? No. Can your individual actions all added up stop the horrors that are coming? No. It's too late. We could have. We chose not to. And we continue to choose not to as a culture. And it's really bad in the short term for all of us. But when we pull back in time, and I'm talking into that hundreds of thousands of years, into that 10 million year time scale, the negative impacts of humanity are not just a blip, but they are a tree falling that causes short-term harm and long-term beauty and diversity. When I apply ecological disturbance ideas to my own life, I get to look back and see and know, and many of you can probably associate with this idea, that when I look back in my life at all the beautiful, wonderful things that I hold dear. I am a musician. I didn't grow up with that. I am a horticulturist and botanist. I certainly did not grow up with that. I grew up in a city disconnected by nature. My mom laughs at me now because when I was a kid and until my mid-20s, I hated yard work and I did not eat vegetables. Now I do yard work for vegetables. So, as a gardener. But when I look back when I look right now at this life I've created, that I've cultured like a garden, like I've cared for it and tended it and planted things, I look back at every beautiful thing in my life. I can trace that coming into my life directly to a personal tragedy. Something happened that hurt my body, my heart, my soul. And it was horrible. Many things. We've all lived many things that hurt, that cause physical, emotional, spiritual harm. And we live our lives trying to protect ourselves and stop those things from happening. And I'm not saying to encourage them, no. They're going to happen on their own. And I'm not saying that we should celebrate when bad things happen, or that the idea and knowledge that good comes out of bad, because good and bad are dichotomies that don't really exist until we observe and put those moral interpretations onto them. That these things happen. I have had so much heartbreak, physical heartbreak, emotional heartbreak, physical loss. I've almost died a couple times. And even most recently, you have noticed that I am holding a cane and a little bit hobbled right now. I had a beautiful and wonderful occurrence last year. And I am choosing to frame it as that, because I know what good will come from the loss and the tragedy. I don't know what it is, but I know every other thing that's happened to me has led to an increase in joy, an increase in beauty and diversity in my life. Just like the tree falling, or a whole swath of trees falling has opened up light onto the forest floor and allowing a whole process to start for healing of that damage and recovering from that impact. That is happening right now. The healing starts as soon as the injury happens. And we can allow it, and we can look at these life tragedies, just as tragic as the tree fall and Hurricane Helene, and know that without those horrible disturbances at any level of time scale, micro to macro, without those things, none of us would be here. Without rising through hardships, we wouldn't learn lessons we pass on to our children. Without suffering those group hardships in people that would not be lodged into our genetic cellular memory, passed on to our progeny through epigenetics. Without the stress, we don't have strength. So I'm not asking anybody to celebrate any of the difficult things going on in the world, in your own personal lives, the lives of your friends and family, our neighbors around the world, and the horrible things that are happening in the environment all the time. News gets worse and worse for all kinds of things, and I'm not sure if y'all realize this, but war is really bad for the environment. Really bad. What I'm saying is this: everything's going to be okay. It will. I promise you. No matter how dark the winter, springtime comes and the flowers bloom again. No matter how hard, there is healing and recovery through it. So I'm here to give you all a message of hope that everything is going to be okay. Not for us, but for life and for the ecosystem and for the continuance of this wonderful, beautiful, floating planet that the astronauts in the Artemis sent us beautiful photos of. Just like Earthrise 50 years ago. It's all going to be okay, friends, don't worry. Eventually. And just like if you are going through a tragic, a trauma, some sort of emotional thing right now, and you're in the middle of it, in the grief, being told that everything's going to be okay and everything will get better does not help you. Doesn't you suddenly, oh, okay, I just lost all my family, but eventually everything's going to be okay, so now I feel better. No, that's not how it works. And it's not how it works for us. We don't get to stop our efforts to try to help save the world, be part of resilient communities. We need to just understand that that the way through is community. The way through is the healing that starts as soon as the injury occurs. There's more injury coming. Helene was tased. In the aftermath of Helene, we rose as a people to come together and help our neighbors and community. And it did not matter in the impact zones, west or east of us, what your political affiliation was, what the color of your skin was, what language you spoke. In the immediacy, neighbors helped neighbors. And we came together to create beauty and art and music and joy out of the tragedy. So that's my message, friends. Everything is going to be okay, just not for us.
Adam, thank you so much for deepening our understanding of diversity and community. It's a joy to have you back with us. Our new order of service includes a time for connecting, including announcements, introductions, and joys and concerns. Please know that what we share will be edited out before it's being posted on YouTube. As a lay-led congregation, we appreciate all our volunteers, including our Sunday service team, Warren, Edgar, and Penny on Zoom, June, who chose our music, and Claire, who does our YouTube channel. Ben is out sick today, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Our tech team invites anyone interested in learning how to support our worship services to stop by the table after service. Our greeters this morning were Bill and Barbara, Hospitality, Dana, Karen, Jeff, with help from Charisma and Harmony. We're also grateful for all the diverse gifts of time, talent, and treasure. Some of that generosity provides for the equipment and connections that support our service here in the sanctuary and on Zoom. All financial donations are appreciated in person, by mail, or on PayPal. We acknowledge this together when we say gifts given in love and hope continue a cycle of love and hope. Now for our announcements. Zoom first. As the sanctuary folks, we invite you to line up by the piano. Do we have anyone on Zoom? Our closing words. The ecologist knows that even after the fire passes, the ground holds heat, that what looks like an ending is the landscape drawing breath. We came here today perhaps a little afraid of our own disturbances. We leave perhaps with a different word for them, Not catastrophe, not failure, not the end of the story, but disturbance. The disturbance, it turns out, is how the light gets in. Carry that with you into the week ahead. Your uprooting may be your opening. The storm that moved through your life left seeds behind. Our chalice extinguishing. Melody, would you like to come help? It's so good to have you here today. This little top goes on it. Beautiful. Thank you so much. We extinguish this flame, but not the light it stood for, not the warmth of this community, not the courage it takes to grow again after the storm. These we carry within us. Go gently. The forest is still growing. Thank you for joining us today. We know you have many options on how to spend your Sunday morning, and we're deeply grateful that you chose to be in community with us. Following service, Adam will stop by the tech table to visit the Zoomies and then join the roomies to chat during coffee hour in Celebration Hall. Next Sunday, we celebrate National Poetry Month, as I mentioned, with our 3rd annual poetry service. Please rise in body or spirit. Those in the sanctuary may choose to hold hands. We now join in spirit together as we prepare to recite our closing covenant. Melody, come this way. Yay, that's wonderful. Yay, Bruce. We've got it. Terrific. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and community is its goal. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So may it be. Let's turn our roomies and wave goodbye to our Zoomies, and they will wave back to us. Go in peace and hope. The service has ended.